Welcome back. We've got turn 9. Not much happened here. One of our units died because he was crippled, so sad for them. Uh, Bet on Jareb. This was our original army, right? With King Arthur, everybody's favorite pope. And another basic province. We've seen this story before. We'll speed it up. Divine Smite's doing work there. Love to see it. And yeah, they route pretty quick. It's not bad. Again, our smiter's doing most of the work there. We lost a couple units, but no big deal. No sacreds. And then in Rivia, this was that dominionless province that I expanded Virtue into with no intel. It is cavalry. I put her way in the corner there to make sure she can get off all 3 spells because we want to make sure she has air shield, right? They do have crossbows. And we'll see if those cavalry can reach her in time. Because, they cast 3 spells and then it takes them a second before they actually fly off. So it's gonna be close. Okay, she makes it. And Benny Hill style, they waste 4 rounds. And she's back here murdering things. So she does land all the way in the back. That's nice. She'll have to fly again here. And less ideal landing. But these guys have better morale, 12, but you still see a lot of off flashes happening. So all 5's pretty good. Looks like she got hit there for 0. But didn't pop mist form, which is really our only concern. We'll speed it up. She just slowly murders everything. And there they go. She's fine. No problem. And then we had an unexpected event. Bad harvest. All the taxes gone. So that's unfortunate. But okay, yeah, so what happened? We had some question marks here, and it looks like Femini is. We still don't know where their capital is. They do have that Dominion Heights province ownership, so I might have to be right on top of it to see it. They did expand down into No Peaks, and that works out for me because we've essentially blocked Atlantis off here, except I don't know if you guys caught this, but I didn't. There is a connection from this province as well. But I'm pretty surprised Atlantis hasn't come for these yet. Maybe they didn't think they could trace a path of income, right, to a fort because it won't go through the water. So that's kind of only reason I can think of. I would expect them to still try to come through here, but maybe they're trepidatious for other reasons. We're gonna take our second expansion army, and if they do come to Shambolic, I'm confident in a bump. I actually picked up some indie crossbowmen here, which could help against their units that are more heavily armored, right? It's only a few crossbows, but could be a difference maker. We'll see. And then if they don't already expand into Pugria here, the land of pugs, then we'll move one more. And we actually had our first real Diplo. So Femini reached out because they want to come into this wasteland here. And I'm pretty happy for them to take it. Like, I said, oh, it has my Dominion. I was planning on moving there, but I'll concede it as long as you leave Pugria open to me, because I'm not gonna, I'm not gonna take Victoria in there just in case Atlantis comes. So I wasn't planning on taking that anyways, and I doubt it would last for 3 whole turns regardless. So that's just good Diplo to me, and we're gonna sign a nap. Maybe share some other intel. So that's nice, and we've got some other nation. It's kind of bumping up against us now too. So Marignan has expanded. We see they also have a virtue. So, and I peeked at all the pretenders here. We could even have a 4th virtue in this game, which I guess other people think she's a powerful expander as well. So there you go. If you haven't tried her out, a lot of people think she's good. And yeah, we have Zamatia here, which I think that's a good get for them. It was going to be a stretch for us to get in there with these two mountain ranges. And I assume they'll take this. I'm happy to let them have that. And I did reach out to both Marinyang and Samashia. Samashia? I'm not sure how to pronounce it actually. And they're both pretty far from us. And I think it would be an awkward war for everybody. So I just kind of went ahead and offered naps to both. We can always break those later on. I feel like we're being set up for conflict with Pythium, Jomon, and Atlantis, and it might be a gut feeling so far, but I don't think Pythium's done well in expansion, right? Marinyang's bumped them up here. We bumped them here from Meanie here, and so I'm taking the Eagle Scout to see this corner. And you guys probably clocked this a while ago, but when we saw their bless and that they had virtue, this is a very expensive, awkward bless to get. I actually went into the Pretender designer and recreated this, not messing with scales or candles or anything. And to get poison resist, they had to invest in nature. So that's 80 points just to get nature 1. To get defense, they had to invest in water. So that's 80 points just to get water 1. Undreaming into glamour. So just an insane amount of blessed points to get low cross paths. So I'm not sure I'm sure they had the reasons, right? Maybe they want to do certain summons or other kinds of spells, but this is a very awkward bless and kind of just a waste of points, in my opinion, unfortunately. So apparently everyone in this game has won at some point in Dominions, but maybe that was a beginner game, or I'm not, I don't want to make any more judgments than that, but Pretender design at least is certainly not optimal. We'll leave it there. And then Jomon, they could have expanded well in these other directions, but I'm not so sure. And Atlantis too, again, without them coming this way, we want to get our scouts going. I'm recruiting more scouts. Actually, I went pretty light on troop and mage recruitment because I wanted to get infrastructure, and I spent that little extra money on scouts instead. So we're building a lab here, so we're gonna have a lab temple there. We'll be able to get this guy going pretty soon, and then we started. Where is it? Yes, our 4th fort is going here, and then I think I do want to build a 5th one in Jereb here. It's a decent province. It's well positioned, and then we'll have our first fort will go up in 2 turns, and then every turn after that we'll have a fort for 5 turns come up. So that feels pretty good to me. We're only at turn 9. As far as movement this turn, again taking that second army up, and they'll just go all the way to Pugry if they can. I have Victoria coming back since she's so lightning quick. She'll just take this province real fast for us, and then I think jump to Royal Green so we don't have to waste time moving our slow armies around. And from there, if we're not at war with anyone, she's just going to site search, try to get us air gems. I'm almost 100% confident we're about to bump with Jomon and Marshland. So they did take their heavy crossbow mercenaries. They took Iron Peak without too much issue. They have 47 heavy crossbowmen, and I think we'll easily, 4 smiters. We've got air shield, our own crossbows, in sparse formation. Like, I'd be very surprised unless they bring secondary troops that we can't see from here. So I expect a bump. Hopefully that won't cause an international incident, but conflict with Jomon is inevitable in my opinion, and Pythium seems weak. We'll scout a little more. I don't think a super early war is necessarily in our advantage, but if, I think someone's going to try to eat them pretty early. That's just kind of my instinct at the moment. And if that's the case, we'll want to take, maybe these 3 provinces at least. We'll have to see who ends up going to war with them. We'll give them, concede most of the cap circle, let them do all the sieging, and we'll take the underground if we can. Um, so just a little war of territorial expansion, right? Instead of full conquering, and then we'll start to plan out our offensive with Jomon and Atlantis, because we do not want them to last to Murdering Winter. Uh, so we'll see how strong they really are. I mean, we haven't seen any national troops, what their pretender is, what their bless is, so a lot of unknowns there still. And I think that's the turn for now. So imagine that. We'll see you next time. Welcome in. Imagine that. We're on turn 10 already with Piconye. So Obscuro, my guy, he struck out again, and I had to put in another bid this turn. And you just gotta hit once for me to become a believer. Come on, Obscuro. I want to believe. I want to believe. So here once again is our virtue. We've got some cavalry. We've got Benny Hill music going in the background. And again, tons of off lashes. Mistform still active. And yeah, off 5 if you can get it. You can see the effectiveness. And yeah, those 2 times she popped Mistform do seem to be pretty extreme outliers. We're going to keep hoping that's the case, at least. And then we knew Femini was going to come in there. They told us, right? So I put a scout there to see. And they just have some knights here with a Femini Sorceress. Actually, I love this mage. It's a great mage, in my opinion. I do like Femini. They're pretty failed. They're definitely a magic kind of nation. And there's no randoms on this mage, so everyone gets 2 fire, 2 astral, 2 glamour. They can all go in communions, really boost those up, and they're pretty versatile. They're just pretty expensive. They're not sacred, so they cost a lot, but you get them on demand. They have group lore glowing here. I would prefer body ethereal, I think, on these knights, but they're going up against nothing. Paper thin, and the knights themselves, they're kind of nothing special, but they are very heavily armored, so they're basically like indie, souped up indie knights, right? Full plate mail, full helmet. They've got the full plate barding here, but bad MR, right, for both. They got the lance, broadsword, so they're very, very solid troops, just not extraordinary. If they were sacreds, you could do whatever you wanted with them. Well, I think we know how this is going to turn out. Just eating lightly armored troops, right? No problem. So they took that pretty easily. And then in Shambhalak, we did not bump. So that's nice for us, because it's just kind of another basic province. We've got 3 smiters, right? First squad routes. But oh, these heavy infantry being cheeky. They're heading straight for this Pope. But they rout. Probably a smart decision by them. They're just getting chewed up by those smites. Even on the retreat, right? Like, oh, it's pretty brutal. But eventually they get out of range, and looks like half dozen survived there. So good for them. They're gonna run into the hills, never to be heard from again. We lost 1 defender, and then we saw 2 Jomon battles here. So the first one, they finally get up into those woods there, and they just have scales troops here. So Harimoto's decent troop, 15 attack out of the gate, right? They don't have any experience, for 21 damage. Good armor, good helmet, but no shield. Just kind of okay stats here. 4 MR, I mean, it's 10, right? They're in magic skills. So they're vulnerable to crossbows, and of course our smiters. And they're not going up against much. There are some crossbows here, though, so we'll see if they can get some hits in. Do some work for us, right? But against these mundane troops, They hack them up pretty fast. So we'll see how they do against our defenders. With 15 attack, they'll be able to hit. And if they do hit, if they hit around the shield, I mean, it's game over. But through the shield, we got a chance to survive with defenders. So pretty easy for them there. They do lose 4. And then Marshlands, we did get the bump, but they only bring in the mercenaries. There is a lot of crossbows, and they are heavily armored. They have some experience. And they're just going up against slings. And so again, I think we know how this is going to turn out. Slings are going to struggle to do much damage at all on hits. And there they go. Yeah, they don't lose anything. So, but we were pretty confident going into this. I don't know if I showed it, but I did move up my smiters to hopefully be in range. Because, when you face humans, they like to hold an attack, hold and fire, or just put things further back in the line than indies that are just kind of start in the middle and charge straight forward. So it looks like they were not on hold, but they were further back. The commander's all the way in the back, looks like. And there we go. So they were out of range for our first smite, but not the second. So I'm glad I moved them up. Because they don't move up much further, so we might have been out of range. That could have been actually disastrous for us. Because as you can imagine, our smiters are going to do the work here. Just exchanging crossbow fire. I wish I'd put my troops further up just to kind of absorb these hits. But crossbow, they're so cheap. I think they're 7 gold. If they die, we don't care at all. And yeah, it's just heavenly strike spam until they're like, yeah, we're not messing around with this. Like, you don't pay us enough, Jomon. We're not actually loyal. Like, peace out. So we do lose 5 crossbowmen, but I mean, that's 20 smite kills, right? And we take the province. So I don't think I'm going to reach out to Jomon. We'll just leave it, see if they have a response. And then with Marinyong, we see their virtue. Unfortunately, it's not in their dominions. We're not going to see their bless, but we do see their magic paths. Just 2 fire, 4 air. If I had to guess on what they would get for their bless with those paths, attack skill, maybe just resistances. They've got those flagellant sacreds, which, something like Righteous Wrath could be good on, but that takes more fire to do. So we'll still have to scout them a little more. We'll just speed it up here. So their virtue, actually, I don't know if that's a scripting error. They just want to take everything head on, but they did not attack rear. But I mean, it's virtue, right? Not too worrying, unless you pop your own mist form here. And yeah, there they go. So virtue, pretty good. And then a couple of events here. Nature gems have been distilled from the droppings of a magical beast. Gross, but also yay for us. Free nature gems. And then strange events are occurring, and superstition among the commoners is increasing. That we don't love. -3 candles, bunch of unrest. I'm not sure if that's an event chain we have to worry about. Like, do we have to patrol that, or even preach there? That's maybe something to monitor. We still have 1 candle left, so it's fine. Okay, so stay to the board here. Atlantis didn't come into any of these provinces, which is, again, pretty surprising to me, because I think I said that you can't trace income, but you can, right? Like, that's my plan over here. You probably noticed in Rivia, we're not actually connected anywhere yet, so we're not getting this income, and we're not getting this free glamour gem, this shop of strange items. So I do want to, sweep in here as quickly as possible to link up. And we found a Shambler Reef in Shambolic. So this guy can lead 75 troops underwater, much better than those mages. Um, so we're gonna get him, and I debated whether getting to get Shamblers or Ichthyids, but these guys, they're twice as expensive, and I don't think they're twice as good. They have more hit points. The Ichthyd has 16, but you only get two of these guys per square. So overall, per square, I mean, and just per cost, you're going to get more HP, right, for the Ichthyids. I think they have roughly the same protection. MR morale doesn't. I think they have roughly the same morale, which is kind of the only thing that matters for this underwater fight. And then with the claws here, yeah, they have two attacks, a decent damage, but they'll get repelled by the underwater spear guys. And then I think they have slightly better stats, but again, I think these guys are going to be more cost effective for us. We'll just get more of them, and any that survive will cost us less upkeep as well. So that's the plan there. I'm going to recruit the Shambler and just kind of march him down here, and we'll be ready to go way faster than, getting these guys who can only lead 10 at a time. And yeah, so we're just going to keep marching up here. If they do come from the small sea with something, again, I like our chances with this army and our smiters. So I feel like Pugria is going to be ours. And then our last kind of thing to clean up here with Virtue is flying into Royal Green. And then our expansion will be done. And if we assume we take both of these provinces, I think it's going to put us up to 24, which is very good. Even for before turn 12, we've got a bunch of infrastructure, building our last palisade here in Jareb, at least for the moment. And yeah, we've got pretty much 100% of our borders established and looking pretty good for us. So we've got a nap with Famini, and I did hear back from Marignan and Zamatian. They both agreed as well, which I think is just smart for everybody at this stage in the game. Like if we look here at Zamatia, excuse me, there's a one province border from our perspective, so that's kind of a choke point for us. And same with Marignan, just a one province border. So it'd be a very awkward war, even if people wanted to coalition us, right? Far away, small border. It just doesn't make sense for either party, I think. And yeah, again, we don't know where Firmini is, but they seem content. If if I'm playing Firmini, I would want the same approach that we're taking. They're kind of a magic-based nation, right? They want to get their infrastructure up. They can get they have recruit anywhere mages, right? Because of yes, divinely inspired research. They can get these guys researching pretty much anywhere. Pretty powerful if they can, just kind of turtle up for a while. So that's something to keep an eye on. They'll rival us in magic potentially, magic research. And then with Atlantis, if we take this, we're only going to have essentially a two border province. So they probably want to. We haven't scouted them well, right? We don't really know what they're about at all, and probably more likely to have border tension with Jomon and Pythium, right? We've got a four border province, or yeah, four province borders, excuse me, with both parties, right? But we need to scout better. Unless you know someone's the aggressor. We're probably just going to build up our infrastructure. We don't want to become too big. 'Cause people, if they're scouting us, they're already going to think we're big, right? So if we just try to eat someone right away, we'll become public enemy number one. We've got a couple thrones we can take, so I'm pinging this one next turn. Uh, the big question mark is always with thrones, what mages are in there, but we also see a Netter of Kings, a pretender chassis. So what gems does he have? What magic pads? Um, but just troop wise, the fire snakes could do some damage, but we're not worried about any of those other troops. And kind of the same thing over here. They've got cave drakes, which just they don't have breath attacks, and the wyverns, as long as we script properly, they won't kill our popes. And the rest of the troops here, we don't care about at all. So what mages are in there? We'll want to ping this. Whatever we do ping with will die to the wyverns probably, but that's okay. So I'm actually moving out the troops we accumulate in the capital. I'm gonna just move them down here. They'll meet up with our first army to protect this investment, but then maybe also, take either of these thrones. And yeah, aside from a potential throne battle and anyone attacking us, the next few turns might have less battles, be more about building infrastructure. They might go pretty quickly. We'll see. And I think that's it for now. So thanks for joining. We'll see you next time. Imagine that. Welcome back. Imagine that. We're on turn 11. And yeah, we got a couple non-aggression packs confirmed here with Marignon and Famini. We have one out to Zamatia as well. That should come back to us next turn. And then in the Royal Green here, I don't think we even need to see this anymore. Virtue, she takes that last independent province, no problem. And then we finally get our bump in Pugria, the land of pugs. So we actually get in there first. And, this is something we've seen multiple times. We've got our few crossbows here, our 3 smiters in the back. Our defenders make early contact there. And it looks like maybe they took some damage. But soon enough, get these crossbows to rout here. And I guess our smiters aren't quite close enough to get the crossbows, so they lasted a little longer there. And so we do lose some defenders, and it looks like it's crossbows that get all those kills. So even got one through the air shield. But still, a win is a win. And okay, so here comes the bump. We ready? And wait a second. It's just one Ichabod Lord. So I have to assume this is a mistake on Atlantis' part, because he's not retreating; he's coming straight for us, and he's not gonna last much more than a round. There come the heavenly strikes. He's paralyzed already, and put him out of his misery. So yeah, that's strange. We'll take a look at the world map in a moment. And then this was us pinging the throne. So a lot of fire snakes, and it didn't show this in the scouting report, but a bunch of fire drakes as well. And they get the fire breath attack, which is just gonna annihilate blocks of our troops if they get in range. Not what we'd like to see, ideally. And then this Netter of Kings, it's a big body, size 9, 100 hit points. Doesn't have any armor, but has a ton of gems, right? So cast some scary things with all those gems, decent magic paths in each, high astral. So we're unlikely to, magic duel if that was an option available to us. And with this high leadership actually giving very good morale to the snakes and the drakes. I mean, so they're going to be hard to rout. These claymen, they have 50 morale. So it's going to be pretty tough for us to take without some fire resistance or some specialized gear on thugs or whatnot. And it's not something we'll be taking anytime soon, I don't imagine. Yeah. Good. 44 fire snakes. That's a lot. They do have, or is it firepower? So if we get our Dominion in there and it's winter, cold 2 or 3, their stats will suffer. But it's really the fire drakes that are probably the main concern. It shoots a narrow beam. They got to get in range. If we can, and their magic resist pretty good. So they're size 5. The snakes are size 4. I'll have to look into if we get a bunch of crossbows and say target large. Are they gonna shoot at the drakes? I don't know. I'll have to look that up at size 5. That might not be big enough. But that could be an option, if so, to take on this province. And I don't know why a crossbowman died here. That's sad for them. And then we see a bump where I left that Eagle Scout. So Pythium did come in here with just, again, standard troops, but actually a couple little mages, these Misties. Just nature 1. They're very cheap to recruit. Not the best researchers. And they're casting Barkskin. And, against archers, they won't have any trouble, of course. Summoning some trees in there. They throw their javelins. And eventually, they're just takes them longer than you might think. No losses, but then here comes Ulm. And yeah, they've got a good amount of sacred cavalry here. And they're pretty good, so we'll see their bless in a sec. And here we go. So magic resistance +1, undying +6, enchanted blood, blood surge, heroism. Pretty decent bless there. No incarnates, right? So their god could be dormant or imprisoned. And it's a kind of a, I'd call it a standard heavy cav bless. The extra +1 MR is nice for their mount. They get 1 from enchanted blood as well. So this would normally be 6, right? And yeah, very well armored with the late barding of Ulm, right? And the mounted unit has the same with the kite shield of Ulm, just crazy amount of protection. And with that +2 MR, showing up one of their potential weaknesses. So they're pretty scary. Pretty scary. I guess I should be looking at the base troop here, because yeah, each says base 10 MR, but still up to 12, but better than average. The mount stays the same, and they get the full lance, Morning Star, pretty strong. And when they get a kill, their stats go up even more. But they're pretty good, and they come in with some rangers as well. And yeah, I think you can guess how that's gonna go. It's like one mage already ran away, and the knights turn red with blood surge. They're healing up any chip damage, and yeah, they do pretty good there. So the one mage does get away, but everything else dies. Too bad for Pythium, so not the best luck for them so far. But anyone knew they didn't have scout. I mean, you gotta suspect a bump at that point, right? And our first Palisades is complete in Grandport. And a nice thing for Pythium, they get their first fort up as well in turn 11, so that's good for them. They got an early fort. And if we just take a peek at the map, they did expand up here, but otherwise they're pretty hemmed in. They actually, Marion kind of snuck in under them here. I'm not sure who has this farmland. Could go either way, but I suspect Mariong's gonna attack Pythium. That's my suspicion. Ulm could as well after that bump, seeing that they're pretty vulnerable. And I don't have a great army here to attack if I want to, snipe once war breaks out. We can see that Virtue is in Renthal, so probably protecting their investment. Pretty smart of them. But once war breaks out, Virtue will probably, be the rapid response unit, and hopefully we can get some troops over. This army I was moving over to maybe take this throne. We know that's not going to happen. I'm considering just doubling back now, picking up, some more troops, and just being ready over here, because we're so slow on the map, and Virtue's not going to go on the attack into their dominion. We could probably get away with it if we know for sure something's going to be undefended, like taking this for sure has our dominion, right? They're probably not going to have any troops here. There's a scout that I hope they're not building another palisade, because that's a terrible spot with just abysmal income and right next to their other fort. So I would hope they're not doing that, but Uh, Other map developments. Jomon is maybe bigger than I first suspected. We haven't seen what's down here, but they got into this lake, which we could have suspected potentially, but that's kind of some free provinces for them. It will be easy to defend based on their neighbors, but Atlantis is up here, Sailors, Marigon's over here, and so yeah, Pythium definitely seems like the weak link that we have access to at the moment. I've got our Shambler here. He's gonna come through Traveler's Rest where we suspect that disease site is, because if he gets disease, it's not a big deal. If he dies, he'll survive long enough to lead troops into these provinces. So we're getting a fair amount of Ichthyids this turn. I'd get more, but we ran out of gold. We'll do a full turn of recruitment next time. They'll meet up here, and then 1, 2, 3, hopefully in 4 turns, we'll start taking these water provinces. Not bad. I've got Victoria. She's going to start site searching. We're getting some more infrastructure up. Another lab. Another lab. I decided to do labs and another temple instead of starting to get a fortress in Grainport. I could go either way on, if that's a smart decision or not, but I feel like other infrastructure is important. Once the palisade is up, we'll get fortresses eventually. And that's pretty much the turn, I think. So I do have to make a decision with this army. My thought with continuing this way is that we'd come down and take this throne, but we're still pretty far away. 1, 2, 3, 4, because this is not going to stay. This isn't cold already, and it's the end of winter, right? Our dominion's not there. So it take us 4 turns to get in there. We haven't pinged it yet. I'm going to hopefully ping it next turn with this scout. I can't recruit scouts in the general vicinity, so I'm bringing a Pope over to finish this palisade. And, we know that Femini's here. Jomon has access. Zamatia has access. It's something we probably want to go for over taking a few extra territory. It's a decision to make that obviously I'm waffling back and forth on. So I'm gonna think on that. Obscuro's still searching, and that's pretty much the turn. So this is just our first expansion army. That's not going to be enough to take this. We need more troops. But combined, I think this could do it. 61 troops. We'd have 3, 4 total smiters. I could bring some body ethereal mages down, right? 1, 2, 3, 4 as well. Because we will get Alteration 3 next turn if they're researching. So we'll see. We'll see. Once we take this, we can come back up 1, 2, 3, and then attack from there. So yeah, I think that's how I'll play it. And because we do have a fort here now, we'll have a fort here. We can start recruiting troops from both of these locations. I'm getting popes again. The capital's only 2 away from attacking, so we should be okay to launch an offensive relatively soon, even without this army. And yeah, I think that's where I'll leave it. So we'll catch you next time. Imagine that.